Incredible moment. Cleaning lady surprises CEO with fluent Japanese. Her hidden talent exposed. Mary tightened her grip on the polished handle of her cleaning cart, her heart racing as she made her rounds through the high-rise office filled with lofty ambitions. At 38, a cleaning lady in all senses, she often felt overlooked among the bustling executives. In her mind echoed the voices of her family, their hopes pinned on her shoulders, their sacrifices for her education whispering through the air as she wiped down yet another gleaming desk. Today, however, there was something different. She overheard the executives in hushed tones, eyes darting anxiously as they discussed an impending expansion into Japan, a crucial meeting looming with potential partners on the line. As they expressed their dismay about the lack of a translator, something stirred inside Mary. A deep determination born from years of experience and the love she had always had for her late grandmother and the Japanese culture she had grown up around. But could she? Could she step out of the shadows she'd grown so accustomed to? Before she could fully restrain her thoughts, she approached Ryan, the CEO, with a pounding heart. He had always regarded her with a dismissive glance, a glance that screamed he was at the helm of it all. "Excuse me, Ryan?" The words stumbled out, raw and desperate. He stared at her, bewilderment and skepticism crossing his features. "What do you want?" came his curt reply. Mary hesitated, the weight of their disparate worlds crashing down around her. "I heard about the meeting," she began, her voice wavering. Each word felt like an accusation against the silence that had defined her existence there. "I can help. I speak Japanese." The sentence quivered in the air, a challenge that threatened to shatter any preconceived notions he had. Yet uncertainty gripped her like a vice. What if he dismissed her outright? Ryan's brow furrowed as he processed her unexpected assertion. "You?" he scoffed. "You're a cleaning lady." The insult hung heavy between them, and Mary's muscles tensed under the volley of his condescension. The conversation quickly escalated into a fiery debate over their positions, privilege versus hard work, sight versus insight. Yet as she spoke, Mary realized the depth of her own understanding. Her voice sharpened, revealing intricate knowledge about Japanese customs and language he had hardly considered. Yet internally, she faced the unforgiving echoes of doubt. What if he was right? What if all her dreams of being recognized and valued remained out of reach? Anxiety crept in like tendrils, wrapping around her thoughts, fueled by years of feeling invisible. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they began to prepare, late nights stretched forward, filled with laughter and discoveries, an uneasy partnership forged in the fires of conflict. Yet, as the day of the meeting approached, her heart raced with conflicting emotions. Would Ryan defend her against a sea of indifferent eyes? What if he faltered, failing to see her worth? The very thought struck her with a visceral wave of dread. In the moments before the meeting, disbelief seized her. A cleaning lady standing beside the CEO, their paths inextricably linked by the weight of language and culture. The crushing pressure of their initial clash hovered like a storm cloud, ready to unleash consequence. As the lineup of C-suite executives gathered, Ryan mirrored her internal conflict. His eyes flickered with anxiety and admiration, and as he stepped forward, she found herself questioning whether he would finally stand up for her and the hidden talent she had long nurtured, or if she remained destined to be a ghost in these hallowed halls. The tension mounted, the air thick with possibility, and just as he opened his mouth to speak, the room fell silent. Ryan cleared his throat, a moment stretching infinitely, as if the world had paused, holding its breath alongside Mary. The room, once a cacophony of executives' chatter and anxious whispers, turned suffocatingly silent. Mary could feel the weight of every gaze pivoting toward them, the air filling with tension and uncertainty. It was in this profound silence that she questioned everything about herself. Her imagination spiraled into dark corners. She pictured herself stumbling over words, an imposter clad in the garb of competence, standing beside a titan of industry. Could she truly shift the narrative? Each second felt like a test of her own belief, a reflection of the confidence she had only allowed herself to borrow from fleeting moments of courage in the past. "Mary, is it?" Ryan finally spoke, his voice steady yet cautious, choosing his words like a sculptor chiseling marble, tentative, aimed to unveil rather than demolish. She nodded, every bit of her energy pooling into her gaze, eager yet terrified. "What exactly makes you think you can handle such an important role?" With those words, the audience's curiosity sharpened. Mary had always been the unseen, the unheard, nothing more than a name on the lips of assistants who ordered her around. Now, she had to articulate her worth in a room filled with people who lived and breathed authority. "I grew up with the language," she ventured, her voice gaining strength with each word, emerging from the cocoon of doubt. "My grandmother was Japanese, and she taught me more than just the language. She introduced me to the culture, to the subtleties that only someone deeply rooted could understand." Her heart raced as her passion unfurled, the colors of her heritage sweeping through her words like a vibrant brushstroke on a muted canvas. Ryan's expression shifted, shadows of skepticism still hovering, but now glimmers of intrigue glinted in his eyes. "Tell me more," he urged, a subtle invitation into the world she had long kept invisible. Encouraged, Mary pressed on with dizzying momentum, narrating the customs, the importance of etiquette in business discussions, the cultural context that could either forge alliances or fracture potential partnerships. Each new insight rippled through the room, awakening senses once dulled by corporate monotony. As she sensed their interest peaking, so did the fierce resolve within her. She had stepped into this world. Now, she was no longer just an echo, but a powerful voice. Yet amidst her fervor, a darker disbelief whispered in her ear. Was this moment truly her chance? The lingering question clawed at her thoughts. If she faltered now, would she instantly revert to being merely the cleaning lady? The stakes were impossibly high. The fear of failure mingled tantalizingly with hope. Just as she finished responding to Ryan's question, another executive chimed in, skeptically, cutting through the atmosphere she had crafted. "But can someone from the cleaning staff manage the complexities of high-level negotiations?" The challenge was detached, clinical, a reality check she had feared. Check. Silence reigned again, an echoing void punctuated by self-doubt. Mary could feel every heartbeat in her throat. The eyes of peers and executives pierced her skin like needles. A breath caught in her throat, and suddenly the weight of their scrutiny felt too great. As she searched for a response, the room dimmed amid sudden worries. What if she stumbled over her words? What if the confidence she had built crumbled under their critical gazes? In that precarious moment, she gathered every fragment of her background, each lesson from her grandmother, and the years spent honing her linguistic skill. This was not just about language, it was personal. "The complexities come from understanding the people behind the negotiations," she finally stated, finding a conviction that tethered her to her identity. "I understand their culture, their nuances. That, more than any textbook knowledge, is what will propel this company." The challenge had morphed. It was no longer a fight to be seen, but a battle to be heard. She could let fear dictate or use it as a catalyst for transformation. "Are you ready to join this meeting?" Ryan asked, a flicker of respect finally illuminating his voice. In his eyes, she saw not just a question, but an acknowledgement of her potential. as her heart raced with a cascade of emotions, grief for her grandmother, pride in her heritage, and the unfurling wisps of newfound confidence. Mary found herself facing an undeniable truth. The path she had longed for was now teetering just within reach. Before she could answer, the meeting door opened, and an urgent voice cut through the air, bringing news that would change everything. "The Japanese delegation is here." Her heart dropped. Would she rise to confront this moment head-on, or would she falter under the weight of expectation? The time had come to face the most significant crossroads of her life. The moment the door swung open, the air thickened with anticipation. The delegates, a group of poised individuals adorned in tailored suits, entered with an aura of authority that cast long shadows across the conference table. Mary's pulse quickened. The room, still echoing with her half-finished thoughts, narrowed around her thoughts of her grandmother, her teachings interlacing with the practical complexities of high-stakes diplomacy. Ryan gestured for the team to settle, his demeanor shifting to that of a conductor reining in an orchestra. Mary's gaze flitted from him to the newcomers, the weight of their gaze heavy, yet oddly reassuring. These people were business giants, but they were also human, each one shaped by their cultural heritage, just like her. She swallowed hard, acknowledging an internal shift that pulsed through her. She was not merely a spectator, but a player, poised to engage in this critical dialogue. Ryan's voice cut through the electric tension as he introduced the delegates, emphasizing their influence in the Japanese market. Mary's mind raced. She had instinctively trained for this. Her grandmother's stories about the nuances embedded in business exchanges flashed through her mind. Understanding the cultural significance behind every gesture and word wasn't just knowledge, it was her lived experience. Yet lurking beneath a veneer of newfound confidence was a whisper of fear. What if they recognized her as just a cleaning lady? The title haunted her even now, echoing in stark contrast to the authority demanded in the room. As the presentations began, Mary tuned in, imbibing the rhythm of the dialogue and listening as her colleagues presented their strategies with all the zeal of captains charting new territories. They infused their plans with statistics, market shares, and forecasts, yet Mary felt the potential void in those presentations. Curiosity cradled her, pushing down the anxiety like a seed buried beneath the soil, waiting for the sun to coax it forth. When the time came for questions, Mary watched as they volleyed queries that fluttered through the air like arrows, aiming to pierce the heart of the proposals laid forth. She felt her throat tighten, her inner voice urging her to mingle her voice with theirs. But then the innocence of courage flickered within her. Was this not merely another meeting? She held not only her voice, but also the weight of an entire culture and its wisdom. In the sudden, impulsive surge, Mary raised her hand, suddenly the room's attention spiraling back to her. "I have a question," she began, her voice steady but delicate as she spoke in fluent Japanese, towing the line between exhilaration and terror. A stunned silence fell. The delegates exchanged glances, eyebrows raised, clearly intrigued, yet caught off guard. Several executives seemed to shift in their seats. Ryan's piercing gaze flickered with surprise, but quickly settled into admiration, a cascade of pride building behind the moment. "It's important to reflect on the reciprocal nature of our negotiations," she elaborated, seamlessly weaving her words in Japanese while effortlessly translating for the group in English. The rigidity around the table softened. Her voice became a bridge of shared understanding. The Japanese delegation responded enthusiastically, their eyes glimmering with appreciation. The room began to electrify, charged with an energy Mary had never felt among these walls. Each word became a step forward, each response a dance across previously uncharted territories. She no longer just played a role, she commanded the space with the essence of her heritage fueling her. After the remarkable exchange, as the meeting reached its conclusion, Applause resonated. It wasn't just a professional acclamation, it felt profoundly personal. Mary had shifted the expectations, dismantled the barriers that had kept her at the periphery, and claimed her place within the firmament of this new reality. She had transformed from a cleaning lady into a vital asset, a voice that could no longer be muted. As the meeting adjourned and the executives filtered out, Ryan lingered, a contemplative look etched on his face. "What you did today was exceptional," he said, leaving room for both praise and inquiry. "But this is just the beginning. Are you ready for what comes next?" Mary could feel the surge of adrenaline masking the uncertainties that still buzzed inside her. She had tasted this path, its flavor rich yet profound, with unexplored depths. But could she navigate this terrain consistently? What awaited her beyond this threshold felt both daunting and exhilarating. The future seemed to dance on the horizon, the next challenge beckoning her forward. This newfound recognition was the key, but would it unlock opportunities or unveil unforeseen obstacles? One thing was certain: the road ahead would demand her resilience like never before. Mary left the conference room with a pulse still racing, the echo of applause ringing in her ears. The fleeting moments of admiration felt intoxicating, yet deep within, an unsettling gnawing of self-doubt surged beneath the surface. Each step seemed heavier, dragging the familiar weight of her past with her. She had proven herself today, but would that singular success be enough to change the narrative that defined her? As she approached her desk, the reality of the office wrapped around her like a thick fog, buzzing phones, clattering keyboards, the constant hum of productivity. Her colleagues moved with purpose, their heads bobbing up and down in focused concentration, but Mary couldn't help but feel the tension of scrutiny beneath their casual interactions. She had stepped into a new role, yet felt trapped between two worlds, one as the cleaning lady and the other as a suddenly recognized asset. Ryan's words echoed back, "Are you ready for what comes next?" She wasn't. The question consumed her as she settled into her chair, clutching the arms tightly while applying the hand sanitizer in an automatic motion. New responsibilities would inevitably arise, along with higher expectations. Could she continue to meet them? The real challenge lay in proving this wasn't a mere flash-in-the-pan performance, but the beginning of a transformative journey. Over the following days, she buried herself in research, familiarizing herself with the nuances of international business etiquette and legal frameworks. Every lunch break became a lesson, each page of a textbook breaking through layers of insecurity. With every syllable and statistic she absorbed, the clarion call of her grandmother's voice surged back, urging her toward competence, wisdom, and resilience. Yet anxiety dogged her every study session, whispering that she ought to return to her more comfortable place in the shadows. It was during one of these late afternoons, surrounded by stacks of reports and her chaotic notes, that a fellow colleague, Sarah, approached her. "Mary, I've heard some great things," Sarah began, a smile brightening her features. "It's impressive how you handled the delegates. I'd love to brainstorm some marketing strategies with you." Mary's heart lurched. The invitation felt genuine, yet it also ignited a flicker of fear. What if she failed? What if Sarah's overt admiration blossomed into disillusionment when she contextually interrogated Mary's input? Suppressing the debilitating waves of insecurity, she nodded. "Sure, I'd love to help." But as they exchanged ideas, Mary felt an unfamiliar warmth bloom within her, a nascent confidence. Even amidst her inner turmoil, genuine insights flowed effortlessly. The ideas sparked lively exchanges, each back-and-forth feeling less like a challenge and more like a dance fueled by mutual respect and purpose. Mary's perspective, grounded in her cultural context, illuminated alternative pathways. They forged plans that were unconventional yet astute. Hours melted away, And when they finally concluded their session, the burdens of imposter syndrome dulled. Perhaps she could be more than just the cleaning lady. Perhaps her diverse background enriched her insights and brought valuable perspectives to the table. The realization hovered in her mind, insistent and sharp, pushing her to question whether she was ready to step through the door once more. Yet when Ryan summoned her for an impromptu meeting the next day, the familiar knot of nervousness returned. The weight of his gaze felt heavy, like a storm cloud. "We're expanding our pitch to a major conference in Tokyo," he stated, his voice grave yet tinged with excitement, "and I want you to lead the session." The words hit her like a tidal wave, pulling her into the depths of uncertainty. Lead? The scope felt colossal, daunting. Compromise filled her mind's eye as she envisioned projecting confidence on an international stage. Her heartbeat quickened as thoughts spiraled. But beneath it all lay a punch of exhilaration. This could be the turning point she craved, the moment she either solidified her place or faltered completely. Could she step up and embrace the challenge before her? The answer loomed ahead, threatening to define her worth a little too decidedly. What if she floundered? Breathing in deeply, Mary could feel the weight of expectation gathering pressure around her like a coiled spring. Was she ready to embrace this pivotal moment, or would the fear of failure invoke her return to invisibility? With shadows lurking between resolution and trepidation, Mary stood at the precipice of a decision that could reframe her existence. The path twisted ahead, filled with untold risks and the promise of transformation. And as she prepared to take that crucial step into a larger world, the question echoed relentlessly. Did she have what it took to make her voice resonate beyond the confines of her past? Mary experienced a tumultuous night, filled with fragmented dreams and racing thoughts. Every facet of the upcoming presentation in Tokyo clawed at her mind, oscillating between excitement and dread. She hadn't just been assigned a task, she had been entrusted with a role that could redefine her career. As dawn broke, an unyielding resolve crept through her uncertainty. Today, she would not buckle under the weight of expectations. Today, she was going to fight for herself. Arriving at the office, an electric energy coursed through her. Colleagues bustled around her, engaged in conversations about strategy and market positioning. She took a deep breath, drawing strength from the captivating frenzy around her, and approached her desk. Staring at the assortment of documents, she caught herself wavering. A habitual pull toward the shadows threatened to engulf her ambitions. The clock ticked, reminding her of the limited time before the big meeting. She clenched her fists, allowing the tempo of her heartbeat to guide her. Mary dove into final preparations, organizing her thoughts. She felt her grandmother's voice resonating in the back of her mind, words of encouragement, of heritage, tinged with a hint of pride. This was her moment to rise, to transcend the boundaries defined by others and her own fears. Hours melted into frantic preparation, and with each rehearsed phrase, she began not only to prepare content, but to reinforce her identity. She imagined stepping onto that stage and being seen not as the cleaning lady, but as a knowledgeable voice in a globe-spanning conversation. The thought ignited a spark of determination, burning through her anxiety. When Ryan entered her workspace, his demeanor was calm yet urgent. "You ready?" he asked, his expression a mixture of curiosity and confidence in her abilities. Her heart skipped a beat. "Yes," she replied, feeling an undeniable conviction rise in her chest. "Absolutely." As they moved toward the conference room, Mary steeled herself. The presentation slid into focus, sharpening the blurry lines of her prior insecurities. She reviewed her notes and rehearsed her points until they flowed seamlessly in her mind. But amid her calculated preparations, one element lingered and beckoned her with a hypnotic whisper. Her command of Japanese, a hidden talent she seldom used in professional settings. It had always felt ancillary to her tasks, a piece of her heritage that seemed too personal to share. Yet now, it felt like a weapon, a unique advantage. In the conference room, the gravity of the moment struck her. Delegates from multiple countries filled the seats, each face representing a world of expectations and skepticism. She could sense their anticipation, yet beneath the surface, she felt the familiar, icy clutch of doubt. It crept into her psyche, snaring her thoughts. Could she truly engage with them, not only in English, but in their language? "Mary," Ryan's voice broke her contemplation, calling her to lead the session. As the moment arrived, she glanced at the opulent display behind her, her name emblazoned across the top. Suddenly, the prospect of using Japanese ignited her spirit. Ignoring her instinct to retreat, she embraced the risk. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steadier than she expected. "I'm excited to share our vision today, especially with our potential partners in Japan." As her words rolled out, she tapped into her language skills, weaving in Japanese phrases that felt vibrant and alive. The atmosphere of the room shifted, their faces lighting up with recognition. With each phrase, each carefully strung sentence, Mary felt like a conductor leading an orchestra. The tension within transformed into a rhythm as ideas flowed back and forth, engagement illuminating the room. She had stepped past the thresholds of fear and limitation. As the meeting concluded, applause erupted around her, but this time it resonated as a true affirmation. She had not only led, she had incorporated an inherent piece of her identity, breathing life into her presentation and creating authentic connections. Yet as relief flooded through her veins, another reality awaited. Could this breakthrough lead her toward risks she had long avoided? Would it demand more than the sharing of language, but also the exposing of deeper vulnerabilities? Questions nagged her while a new resolve nestled within. Was she finally prepared to step fully into the person she wanted to be, bold and unyieldingly authentic? The promise of all she could achieve beckoned. Would she pursue it, or flinch back into the safety of her past? The sense of accomplishment swirled within Mary as she stepped out of the conference room, still tinged with the lingering warmth of applause. Each sound resonated deeply, echoing her internal shift, but beneath her excitement lay an undertone of trepidation. She had unveiled a part of herself that had long been cloaked in doubt, yet what followed this exhilarating breakthrough? The spectre of vulnerability loomed. It stretched before her like a long, winding road. "I can't believe you did it," Ryan exclaimed, his enthusiasm giving her the energy to keep her stride. "You spoke Japanese effortlessly. It was like watching an artist at work." With the remnants of her pounding heart easing into steady beats, she felt a smile break through her lingering tension. "Thanks, Ryan, She hesitated, feeling the weight of gravity in her voice. It felt natural, but now I'm just nervous about what comes next. Her anxiety resurfaced. What if this was a flash of brilliance that couldn't be replicated? She had faced the audience, but now another challenge loomed closer: how to integrate this newfound confidence into her daily tasks, her relationships, and her expectations of herself. Ryan tilted his head, giving her an understanding look. "You've opened a door, Mary. Use it. You're not just a cleaning lady. You're someone who has a unique perspective. Those people in there saw it. They responded to it." "Yeah, but will they remember? Or was it a one-time trick?" she wondered aloud, grappling with the collateral implications of her success. The transition from hiding to shining felt daunting. "Let them remember. Your insight will stay with them. And besides," Ryan continued, "you can do more than just present well. Take initiative. Dive into projects that utilize your skills and elevate your scope." His encouragement hung over her like a lingering enchantment. Feeling buoyed, she slipped into the now familiar rhythm of her day, tackling routine tasks with a renewed zest. Yet, throughout the afternoon, moments of silence reverted her thoughts to that initial stage, the shift from being overlooked to capturing attention. She replayed the scenes in her mind, the way the delegates leaned in, their expressions stirred by her words. That feeling, It wasn't just about presentation or skills. It was about a silent declaration of her identity. Then it hit her. She needed to extend this newfound trajectory beyond public speaking. She had always been observant, gaining insights into team dynamics that others overlooked. Why not build on this talent, engaging in collaborative projects, offering her insights, unafraid to assert herself? This could be her next step. But the question lingered. Would she be brave enough to seize it? Just as her thoughts began to settle, her manager approached her, eyes bright with an uncharacteristic energy. "Mary, could you join me in my office for a moment?" His voice held an urgency that ignited an unexpected thrill in her chest. As they walked, tension resurfaced. Was she about to face scrutiny, or perhaps worse, expectations that could undo her fragile resolve? Inside the office, her manager leaned back, considering her with newfound respect. "I heard your presentation went incredibly well. I'd like you to share your insights at our next quarterly meeting. It will be a chance to shape future strategies, especially regarding our approach to the Asian market." Mary felt her heart pound, a mixture of elation and fear telescoped before her. This could be a pivotal moment, yet it demanded more exposure than she had bargained for. "Are you sure I'm the right person for that?" she questioned, a hint of trepidation slipping through her confident facade. "Absolutely. You have perspective. You hear and see things from angles we often miss. Don't underestimate the value you bring," he replied, his conviction steadying her wavering spirit. As she nodded, a torrent of thoughts cascaded within her. This was her chance to evolve, to embrace both her voice and her story, yet the looming questions remained. Was she ready to face more judgments, to risk the vitality of her newfound confidence? At that moment, a new spark of resolve ignited, a determination to push boundaries she had long regarded as fixed. What lay ahead was uncertain, yet perhaps it was time to reshape the narrative around what she could achieve. But as the meeting date approached, casting looming shadows over her plans, another thought struck. What if this was just the beginning of a confrontation with whom she truly wanted to become? She had fought to claim her identity, but could she sustain it? Would the urge to revert to old patterns tug at her once again? Mary felt the undeniable pull of potential. It wasn't enough to just seize the spotlight. Now it was time to confront herself, deeply and honestly. The ultimate challenge awaited. Could she fully embrace the woman she aspired to be, or would fear write the next chapter of her story instead? Mary fidgeted with the hem of her blouse, peering into the office mirror as she adjusted her hair for the third time in 10 minutes. The room felt stifling, each passing moment intensifying the anticipation and dread swirling in her stomach. She relished the thrill of being recognized, but also wrestled with sabotage lurking in the corners of her mind. What if she stumbled over her words? What if everyone realized she was just a cleaning lady who had briefly donned the cloak of a professional? The reflection staring back was unfamiliar, but almost empowering. How fascinating to witness her own evolution taking shape, inching towards a self she pieced together like a delicate mosaic. The prospect of sharing her insights at the quarterly meeting grated against her fears, but also amplified a slow-burning excitement. Perhaps there was more to discover within herself. As she walked into the conference room, the tension in her chest transformed into unmistakable energy. The long rectangular table was brimming with faces she had often viewed from a distance. Executives, managers, people defined by their titles and the authority they wielded. A rush of doubt threatened to muddy her resolve, yet she clung to her memory of the applause. Each patter echoed encouragement, serving as a reminder of her worth. "Mary, come on over," her manager gestured, drawing her to the center of the room. The typically stoic executives greeted her with nods and warm smiles, their interest palpable. One by one, she faced their focused attention, invigorating her spirit. We asked you here today to share your thoughts on how we can successfully penetrate the Asian market. We know your background and perspective can shed light on angles we might have overlooked. With each word spoken, the distance between who she had been and who she was becoming stretched. People had often dismissed her insights, but now they craved her input. As she began to speak, the tremors in her voice gradually steadied. She felt the words emerge fluidly, ideas unfurling like leaves in the sunlight. The Japanese market, she started with careful significance, is deeply intertwined with cultural nuances that define consumer behavior. We cannot merely translate our existing strategies. We need to listen, adapt, and ensure cultural integrity in our approach. The room fell into silence, every face trained on her, captivated. With every point she made, her confidence forged ahead, breaking barriers she had once accepted as immutable. She shared insightful observations about customer relationships, identifying what turned potential buyers into loyal enthusiasts. This was her moment of full engagement, and Mary reveled in the realization that her contributions were not just valuable but transformative. However, as she explored her ideas, the specter of old patterns loomed. Distant whispers of self-doubt threatened to creep back into her awareness. What if they really were just humoring her? She felt the need to prove herself, to validate her new place in this world. She shifted slightly, hyper-aware of the executive's scribbling notes, nodding thoughtfully. Still, a part of her remained terrified. The shadows of her past hovered, eager to engulf her once more. Did she have the stamina to maintain this newfound role? Was it true that success came only with the price of vulnerability? As the meeting progressed, and the spotlight remained affixed on her, she felt both liberated and tethered. The hidden potential she had unearthed, a spark within, was now a flame, but how sustainable was it? After sharing her insights, questions erupted as colleagues weighed her thoughts. Each inquiry filled her with a sense of purpose, pushing her to defend ideas, expand on suggestions, build a discourse rather than merely existing beneath the radar. Yet in the midst of her exhilaration, a daunting realization anchored her thoughts. Deep beneath the newfound sense of accomplishment lay the unsettling truth. Success could be both exhilarating and terrifying. This tiny unveiling of her identity was tied to deeper, uncharted territories. The meeting drew to a close, applause flooding the air, but the murmurs of uncertain introspection lingered. Could she continue to uphold this new persona consistently? What would happen if the pressure intensified, exposing her vulnerabilities further? As she exited the room, the weight of potential clarity draped over her shoulders. The thrill of acceptance waded into murky waters of impending scrutiny. The time had come to face the true measure of her evolving identity. She couldn't ignore the stakes any longer. Would she succumb to the crippling grips of fear, or would she forge ahead into uncharted territory, ready to embrace the woman she could be? In that crucial moment, determination surged. The next challenge lay ahead, and it was personal. How far would she go to become the person she was aching to become? Mary spent the next few days in a whirlwind of internal conflict. Walking through the office, she felt the weight of her colleagues' expectations pressing down on her shoulders, twisting her stomach into knots. As much as she relished the thrill of her recent success, she was now acutely aware of how quickly admiration could turn into scrutiny. The very talent she had shared with the team, the insights that had so captivated them, began to feel like a tightrope she walked on trembling legs. On her lunch break, she slipped out into the small park adjacent to the office, needing air and space to think. The early spring sun broke through the haze of clouds, casting warmth on her skin. It was a welcome distraction from her swirling thoughts. Sitting on a weathered bench, with squirrels scurrying around her feet and the distant hum of city life, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was riding a wave too big to handle. What had awakened within her? The deep-rooted fears still lurked. They whispered of inadequacy and reminded her that one meeting wouldn't erase the years of doubt she had accumulated. In the privacy of the park, she replayed the presentation in her mind, the applause echoing gently like the rustling leaves above. But then doubt returned, sharper this time. She had merely scratched the surface. Would she be able to continuously deliver? As if to answer that question, a name she had long suppressed crept into her thoughts. Kana, an old friend from her days in community college. They had taken Japanese language classes together, her enthusiasm teaching Mary that language was not just about syntax, but about understanding culture, about connecting on deeper levels. Kana had recognized Mary's potential long before she did, once encouraging her to look at a future in business that embraced her heritage. That was a lifetime ago, but the memories sparked something dormant within her. Why not revisit that passion? She could hone a skill that added another layer of worthiness to her newfound identity. That evening, she returned home and found an old notebook from her college days. Flipping through the pages, her handwriting teemed with vocabulary notes, cultural insights, and even snippets of conversations she had imagined herself having in Japanese. A sense of nostalgia washed over her as she remembered how proud she had felt after acing her final exams. Determined, she pulled out her laptop and searched for online resources to revive her skills. The notion of infusing her professional knowledge with her linguistic capabilities sent ripples of excitement through her. Just as she began to dive into an online course, she glimpsed a notification on her screen, an invitation to a networking event hosted by a prominent leader in the company. The thought of attending sent a jolt of adrenaline through her veins, tempting her to consider this as a potential opportunity to showcase her insights again. This time, not just in English, but with a twist of her unique background. Yet the anxiety that followed was relentless. What if she embarrassed herself? What if her language skills had atrophied? As she sat in her small kitchen, surrounded by the echoing quiet of evening stillness, she faced a decision. Should she attend, embracing both the risk of failure and the potential for growth? Or should she retreat, clinging to the safety of her recent success instead of pushing towards something larger? Her heart raced, and in that moment she realized she wasn't ready to let the fear of exposure chain her down. She needed to transform her burgeoning self-confidence into action, to step out of the shadows and into a reality where she fully embraced her identity and all its multifaceted aspects. Leaving the notebook open as a reminder of her dormant aspirations, she drafted a note expressing her interest to attend the event. As she pressed send, a surge of resolve filled her. The stakes were high, but so were the possibilities. The next challenge awaited her, and Mary was determined to seize it, flourishing in the uncharted spaces between her fears and ambitions. What new challenges awaited her at the networking event? Would she step into her power as she envisioned, or would the shadows of her past loom larger than she could manage? The day of the networking event dawned, greeting Mary with a vibrant sunrise that flooded her apartment with amber light. As she paced her small living room, a palpable buzz of excitement mixed with apprehension thrummed just beneath her skin. Her reflection in the mirror framed not just a woman dressed in a crisp blazer, but a vessel of potential caught between past insecurities and the exhilarating promise of the future. It was as if the echoes of her past prepared her for a sound that might reverberate through her professional life. She arrived at the venue, a sleek downtown conference center, feeling the familiar churn of anxiety in her stomach. The vast room was filled with clusters of people exchanging pleasantries, their laughter rising like a tide, contrasting sharply with her heartbeat that thrummed steadily in her ears. Each glance around exposed her vulnerability. What if she couldn't keep pace with the flow of conversation? She had deliberately donned her best smile, but each forced curve sent tremors of uncertainty through her. Mary clutched her small clutch tighter, feeling a metaphorical grappling hook anchor her to the spot. The invitation had promised an inspiring crowd, but now it felt like a judgment seat. She hesitated near the buffet table, allowing her instincts to grasp at an escape. Just as she reached for a stuffed mushroom, a sudden clarity pierced through her trepidation. She reminded herself what had fueled her decision to come. The breadth of her experiences, the languages she had learned, the insights she harbored, were all pieces of a larger mosaic that she forged out of dedication. Visioning Kana's encouraging smile, she centered herself, banishing the parade of doubts. She would not allow fear to dictate her narrative. Today was about possibility. With renewed resolve, Mary ventured deeper into the crowd. A conversation unfolded near the front, and she gravitated toward a group discussing the latest trends affecting their industry. She felt alive as she imagined herself contributing to the dialogue, infusing it with her international viewpoint that was imbued with understanding from her years of study. As she carefully inserted herself into a gap, she caught the attention of a tall figure in the group, a senior manager known for his sharp insights. The man had a reputation for being both intimidating and brilliant, and Mary felt the tremors in her chest increase. But while she stammered through an introduction, her voice cracked, and she blushed at her own unsteady tone. "Mary, I believe you presented recently on market expansion strategies," he said, his piercing gaze locked on hers. "What are your thoughts on approaching new demographics?" In that moment, time seemed to expand. She could feel every heartbeat, contemplate every word. Stepping into her own motivations, Mary gathered her thoughts, her acquired knowledge flowing through her like a river. She spoke with an unexpected fluidity, elaborating on her insights and weaving in her cultural understanding of diversity as a business asset. The room seemed to soften around her as she spoke, her nerves giving way to an invigorating fervor. Then, unexpectedly, she heard a familiar phrase return to her mind, one she picked up in her Japanese classes years ago. "Cultural appreciation is key to market engagement," she pronounced, feeling a rush of adrenaline at the ease with which the words surfaced. The group's attention shifted, interested and intrigued. Mary caught a glimpse of the senior manager nodding in approval, admiration sparking across his features. A seed of courage took root. She had proven to herself that when she merged her past with her present, her identity could bloom. Her ability to speak Japanese was no longer a timid whisper in her mind. It had found its place among her strengths. Her burgeoning sense of expertise transformed the initial murmurings of doubt into a strum of confidence. Yet just as she was beginning to feel at ease, the conversation took a turn that sent a spark of cold uncertainty down her spine. The lead manager posed a question she had feared, asking her perceptions on a project that was notoriously controversial within the company. Could she hold her ground in this spotlight of scrutiny, or would the shadows she battled become her shackles once again? What path would Mary choose now that the stakes had risen? Would she stand firm in her knowledge, or would she falter beneath the weight of expectations? In the charged atmosphere of the networking event, Mary locked eyes with the lead manager, the question hanging heavily in the air. The flicker of uncertainty clawed at her, but deep inside, an unyielding resolve emerged. She had faced her insecurities countless times since stepping into the spotlight, and each confrontation had led to a solidification of her identity and abilities. With a steadying breath, Mary centered herself. She focused on the essence of what she had gained, the courage to merge her background with her professional aspirations. "I believe effective engagement lies not only in product strategies, but in understanding the diverse demographics we cater to," she said, her voice firm. The project's controversy stemmed from a disconnect between cultural insight and market execution. "We must listen, to the people involved, their experiences and their needs. As she spoke, the room's energy shifted. Colleagues leaned in, intrigued, not just by her words, but by the conviction behind them. The senior manager's approving nod made her pulse quicken, reinforcing her desire to command the dialogue. "We must see the value in cultural appreciation to build trust in unfamiliar markets," she continued, weaving her perspective with seasoned insight. "With sensitivity and a robust understanding, we can reshape our approach and nurture growth that is both ethical and sustainable." Her confidence cascaded, revitalizing her with a surge of authenticity. No longer did she feel like an imposter clinging to borrowed authority. Instead, Mary embraced her identity with undeniable strength. She was the voice of experience, one forged through the very cultural narratives that had once gone unheard. Yet the shadows that lurked previously had not dissipated entirely. Doubt still threatened to whisper in the recesses of her mind. The room, teeming with critical eyes, presented a level of vulnerability she could have easily shied away from, but her intention to advance became clearer. This was not merely an opportunity to showcase her insights. This was about embracing her newfound professional identity and what it represented. As the conversation moved forward, the group engaged in a spirited discussion, integrating Mary's input and delving into potential strategies. She participated actively, her contributions becoming not just welcome, but essential, shaping the discourse and weaving her unique perspectives throughout the fabric of the conversation. When the meeting concluded, applause erupted once again, echoing what she had felt before, recognition, validation, but this time the applause shifted into something deeper. It represented acceptance of her as a continuing presence in their industry, someone who could harness her cultural experiences and transform them into actionable insights. The seed of confidence she had nurtured now bore fruit. Afterward, the senior manager approached her. "You handled yourself brilliantly, Mary. I want to discuss potential collaborations moving forward. Perhaps even leading a project that expands into the Asian markets," he said, his gaze filled with respect. The realization struck her like a wave. This was a tangible recognition of her transformation. In that moment, Mary broke free from the shackles that had often bound her to the outline of her past identity. The shadows that loomed were merely remnants of a life she was now prepared to transcend. She had arrived at a point where she could take charge of her narrative, a narrative painted with resilience, ambition, and self-acceptance. As she exited the venue, the crisp air washed over her, invigorating her senses. She felt exhilarated, a potent mix of triumph and contentment wrapped in a cocoon of undeniable achievement. The groundwork was set for a more profound path ahead, a space where she could thrive, innovate, and advocate for what she believed mattered most. Mary had not only conquered her fears, but had solidified her position with newfound assurance. From cleaning lady to a recognized asset in an influential corporate environment, she marveled at how far she had come. Her growth reflected palpably in the degree of respect afforded to her, born from the depths of her unique experiences and her unyielding fight to achieve fulfillment. This was just the beginning. The ongoing challenge would be to continue to embrace both her heritage and newfound authority. With a heart brimming with ambition, Mary stepped into her future, ready to navigate the realms of expression, leadership, and opportunity. In this evolution, she was, unequivocally, her own strongest advocate, and the path ahead was hers to embrace fully. The challenge awaiting her would no longer intimidate. It would energize. The future was bright and laden with promise, and for the first time, Mary felt ready to claim every bit of it. Now it's your turn. If you're inspired by Mary's journey and want to witness more incredible stories of personal transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't let this moment pass. Leave a like now to support our message and help the algorithm reach others who need to hear these life-changing stories. Comment below with your thoughts on this ending and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Remember, only true fans of overcoming personal struggles understand the importance of supporting the channel. Don't wait even one more second.